Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining me for this session of Straight Chablis. My name is Maymata Aliyah. I am a New York-based wine educator, and today the focus of our discussion is going to be about the Chablis Premier Cru wines and the amazing diversity that is available at this category. Unlike the Chablis Grand Cru, which is all located entirely on the right bank, the Chablis Premier Cru are distributed across the entire Chablis wine region on both sides of the Seine River. We have 40 different Premier Cru climats, and they represent a variety of elevation, exposure, orientation, and we cannot forget the hand of the winemaker. And so when it comes to the Premier Cru category, I really find that this is where the Chablis wine lover has a chance to dive deeply into the nuances and diversity that Chablis can truly offer. And to aid with today's discussion and to really help flesh it out, we are joined by Vincent Bartement, who is the winemaker for La Chablisienne. That is the only co-op winery located in the Chablis wine region. It was established in 1923, so they will soon be celebrating a very important anniversary. The co-op is responsible for a quarter of the entire region's production. And Vincent, under his tutelage, is making 30 different wines from the Chablis wine region. So if there's anybody who is perfectly equipped to help guide us through today's discussion, it is Vincent. We are incredibly lucky to have him join us today. We'll also be tasting 4 wines, as has become typical in our discussions. One of the wines is going to be from the right bank, and then 3 will be from the left bank. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce Vincent and have him tell us a little bit about his background and how he became involved in this beautiful wine industry. So welcome, Vincent, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, with pleasure. I'm Vincent Bartement, and I'm the winemaker of La Chablisienne since 2011. My background, is I started enology with my diploma of enology. I got it in 2000 in Burgundy, in Dijon. Mm-hmm. And I start after my diploma. I start to vinify, to make wine in a different region, vineyards like Bordeaux, Alsacia, and Chile also. I was in 2005. I was hired by a cooperative in Mâconnais named Cave de Virey. Oh, sure. It made Virey Clessé appellation, Mm-hmm. It's also Chardonnay. And I made wine, Chardonnay wine and Virey Clessé wine during 5 years. And yes, in 2011, I was hired by La Chablisienne to make the wine of La Chablisienne. I have some, some links with the region of Chablis because I have some family origin in the region near Chablis, in the Auxerrois, Coulanges-la-Vineuse, Irancy. So I learned, and my first contact with these wines was with Chablis and the raids of this region. So it was like kind of natural for me to come back and to work and to have the chance to make wine in this area, So I'm very proud to have the chance to make the wine of these beautiful wines of Chablis, for La Chablisienne.
I love that you had the experience with the two ends of the Bourgogne region, yes. From Mâcon to Chablis, so very different. Yes, exactly. Discussions. Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot in these discussions just about the how Chablis is. It's really about nuance, and but to have this opportunity to really work between these two very different zones with this one grape variety, I think is super, super interesting. We've talked about the Petit Chablis, we've talked about Chablis, we talked about the Grand Cru, but today we're talking about the Premier Cru. And one of the things that really distinguishes the Premier Cru is that it is on both sides
of the river. So you do have some Premier Cru on the left bank. You also have some on the right bank. In terms of the numbers, for my number nerds, we have 40 different Premier Cru, and they represent 15% of the production of the region. But most of us are perhaps not familiar with all 40, because we also have what we call the flagship climat. And of that, we have 17. And so in some cases, you may have a smaller climat that may choose to either use their name or to use the name of the associated flagship climat instead on their label because of more recognition. So that is the case, but you do have a lot of variation. And that's one of the things that I find really, really interesting about the Premier Cru. You do have a lot of differentiation in these 40 different climat. On both sides of the bank, you have variations in orientation, elevation, and so on and so forth that really bring a tremendous amount of nuance to the wines and the at that level. So just to start big, if you were to just give a broad differentiation between the left bank and the right bank, is there a generalization we can make about these two sides?
The main difference between left bank and right bank, I think, firstly, is simply the right bank is more well known than the left bank. The historical part of Chablis is the right bank because it's the bank of the Grand Cru, you know. And I think you can get you see the most well known Premier Cru of Chablis is Montet-Tonnerre, Fourchaume, Mont-Milieu, and so. This is the first difference. So the left bank, you have some famous Premier Cru, but not so much as I think the right bank. And the second difference is, of course, the exposure. The soil is not so different. You have a lot of nuances, but the soil, the subsoil is in right bank and left bank is Premier Region, and is the base of the soil. And you have, of course, nuance of the proportion of clay, of limestone, of marl, of course. But you don't have really differences, right bank soil and left bank soil. The base is Premier Region. But in terms of exposure, of position of the valley, of the right bank, between right bank and if you see the map, you can see that the left bank, if you see the left bank, you can see the small valleys closer, they are more close than the right bank. And the main exposure of the Premier Cru are east, southeast. And if you see the right bank, the valleys are more open, okay, and the exposure is quite different because you can see it's more west, southwest, okay. So in terms of ripeness and of maturity, in general terms, the left bank is colder than the right bank. So the maturity of the grapes get their maturity before the right bank, before the left bank. You can get 1 week of differences between the right and the left.
In terms of a generalization, we can say then the right bank usually are going to be riper, a little bit more opulence, right? And they have a similar exposure to the Grand Cru. If we were to make another generalization, in terms of ageability of the Premier Cru, is there a sweet spot that you think is ideal for their consumption?
I think in terms of aging, the rule there is no rule, but I can explain. I think that for Premier Cru, generally, the ideal aging is between 5 and 10 years. You can wait more. We taste some Premier Cru with 20 years age, but the top of the expression of the wine in general is between this 4 or 5 years until 9, 10 years. It's a good window to taste the wine.
So I would love to start tasting the wines, but I'm also going to ask you to give us an overview of each climat when we're going to taste the wines. So again, I have my map because we're going to start by, so the first two wines we're tasting are from your winery, right? From the Chablisienne.
Yes.
And it's from the 17th vintage. And the very first one we're going to taste is from Les Lys. It is not a flagship climat. It is one of the smaller climats. So sometimes you will not see the name on the label. What might they use instead of Les Lys on a label, Vincent, if they don't want to use the flagship? They would use...
Yes, Vaillon. The flagship is Vaillon. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, you see it here. The words that are in bold are basically the names of the flagship climat. So within this cluster, you've got Vaillon would be the flagship, and then you've got these other sort of smaller ones that are not in bold font. So and Les Lys is pretty much tucked right up here. Tell us about the Chablisienne.
Yeah, so La Chablisienne is, it's a cooperative. It's I think all cooperative because we will celebrate the 100 years old anniversary soon in 23.
Yeah, it's 1923, right? It was established.
Yeah, yes, it was established in 1923. So, so it's a cooperative, important role in Chablis, of course, because of this historical part and of course of the size, because we represent like more than 1,000 hectares, it's 1,200 hectares. That is 22% of the appellation of Chablis.
22%.
Ouais, 22% of all the Chablis area.
Yeah, I read that you produce the equivalent of a quarter of the region's production is produced.
Exactly. Exactly. And we own also Château Grenouille, that is a part of the Grand Cru Grenouille. That is 7.2 hectares of Grand Cru. That is quite important. And so, yeah, it's historically, the size of the cooperative, and also economically, it's important because of we get like 270 wine growers, and that's quite important for also the representation of the quality of Chablis, because we are like ambassador of the quality of Chablis, and so we have quite a responsibility to make the best wine possible.
Is there any other cooperative in Chablis?
No, it's a unique, only cooperative in Chablis. Yeah.
Okay, so you're the only cooperative. You're making about a quarter of the region's production, and you're making, is it 30 different wines a year? About 30 different
exactly
wines?
Yes,
from everything, right? From Petit Chablis, Chablis Premier Cru, and
exactly from yes.
So you really have an amazing overview of the region.
Yes. It's a good representation of what we can find in Chablis. Yes.
Okay, do you want to tell us a little bit about the first one that we're going to taste, about the climat of Les Lys? We saw it on the map, and so the specificities a little bit of that particular climat, and then we can talk about the making.
So Les Lys, like you show in the map, is part of Vaillon, but if you see the map, it's a little bit a part of Vaillon.
Yeah, I can
because if you see,
so it's
at the top of the hill, and if you see Vaillon, the other climat of Vaillon is facing east, southeast. Okay, but Les Lys is an exception because it's it turns and it's facing more east northeast, you know, and it's exactly at the top of the hill. So it's quite different than for this reason we isolate and we make this wine a part of the other Vaillon, because it's I think a really different style if you compare with the Vaillon because of this exposure. And it's if you this northeast exposure gives, yes, we can understand a colder and more slower ripeness, and give I think a very good lot of finesse of the wine to the wine, and you know, you can find this wine. We will taste it and we will see if we find it. You have a lot of elegance with this wine because of this mix of exposure and of course of the soil that you have. You can find the Premier Region soil, of course, subsoil, and quite a bit of proportion of clay. That is quite important, and mixed with the marl, and it permits, it allows the grapes to ripe slowly and very balanced, in a very balanced way. So I think it's a good very representative of the Chablis styles in terms of elegance and, like we say, tension, the famous tension and minerality of Chablis, and I think it's a good example of what is the tension of Chablis.
Yeah.
So we can taste it.
Yeah. So it's on what we sort of generalized as the cooler bank, and then it's in a very exceptional siting in that bank because it's a higher elevation with a different orientation because it's facing more east northeast. So you're harvesting it a little bit later than the other, because it's a little bit delayed.
Yes, we have to wait a bit, and it's slower to ripe, to the maturities later than the other. For example, if we will taste Vaillon, that is a mix, a blend between the two climats, and it's really riper than the Lys climat. So it's the two wines can be named Vaillon. Yeah. But they are really different.
Yeah.
Really different.
Yeah, no, I understand when I was tasting, because I did pre-taste the wines last night. I really understand why you would choose to not put that as a Vaillon and keep it as a. So we sort of talked about the 17. It's sort of very classic vintage, and this is from that sort of cooler climat. So in terms of winemaking, can you tell us a little bit about the winemaking in terms of, you know, what are you fermenting in? Are you using any wood? Is it new? Is it old?
Yeah, we use a lot. It's a for this Premier Cru. It's a very classic Chardonnay vinification. We start the fermentation in tank, in stainless steel tank. And we put a part of the must in oak. Alors for Lys, we put not a part. We put all the must in the oak and the fermentation. All the fermentation, alcoholic, malolactic fermentation, go through in the oak. But no new oak. It's only 4, 5, 6 years old oak. The idea is not to have a lot of oak aromas. Is to let the wine express. Especially in Chablis, it's important to let the minerality express and not to mark the oak aromas too much. Right. Especially with Lys, because you have a lot of finesse, you know, this elegant aromas. So with the oak, it's very dangerous. And so we use only old oaks, but we use during the vinification for this wine. And
So
I think you can smell it a bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's really integrated. So you're fermenting and maturing in neutral oak effectively. I certainly get the oak there, but I get a lot of really pretty sort of citrus notes and
yes, exactly.
apple, some kind of more green fruit and green apple, some herbal notes. Almost getting a little bit of
some floral, not massive. The mouth is not so massive, but it's very elegant, very pure. Like say dentelle, say, I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, the lace, and it's very persistent. It's very persistent.
Exactly.
It's not a wow, but it's a very nice long persistence on the wine. Very, very pretty. I really like this. I like this climat very much, and I like this wine very much. We want to move on to the next wine, which is from the Forcham. Let's talk about Forcham. So Forcham, it is up here. This is Forcham. Right, so you can, again, we can sort of see that this really very, very different orientation that we've got going on here, right? It's a much more open climat.
It's really large, really big one, big in terms of area.
Yeah.
For sure, it's maybe the biggest Premier Cru in terms of hectares, and maybe you have a diversity of climat.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's the map. Very important. If you see, you have climat like Côte de Fontenay, Vaupulant, L'Homme Mort, Voleran.
So those are the flagship, the ones that could use Forcham as their flagship,
yes.
Right? So
yeah, this is the climat that, yes, exactly. Yeah. L'Homme Mort. So in La Chablisienne, we have three cuvées of Forcham. We taste now the Forcham. That is a blend, mainly the blend of the flagship Forcham and some Vaupulant and some Côte de Fontenay. If you see the Forcham, you talk about it. It's open valley. You can see the exposure is like southwest, so you can imagine that the maturity of the grape is quicker than for example, Lilith that we tasted before. So it's like more sunny Premier Cru, more warmer Premier Cru with roundness, very different style of Premier Cru, and also the soil. We have also the Chimay region. But if you compare with other Premier Cru, it's quite different between the. If you talk about the proportion of clay, limestone, and the I would say the profondeur, the depth of the soil. So it's really very appealing Premier Cru, and with a warm side. You have the minerality, but if you taste it like 17, it's quite young. It's very seducing, very appealing, and round, and with quite aromas, but aromas like a little bit of exotic aromas, and mature aromas.
Yeah.
So you have it's a very different kind of expression of Chablis.
Yeah. Do you harvest a little bit earlier for Forcham?
Yes,
so 17.
Normally we Forcham is one of the first Premier Cru we harvest. It's ripe. The maturity arrives really quick. If we wait too much, we can be over ripening. Over ripening. We really rapidly, and it can can get a lot of very too much roundness, too much maturity. So to keep the freshness, because we get the freshness, we have to harvest early during the vintage, during the harvest. And if we don't do that, it can be too much warm, too much body, too much wine, and we lost the finesse of Chablis.
Yeah.
So I prefer to do the malolactic to stabilize the wine, to get the aromas of the malolactic fermentation, because the transformation of the aromas are very important with the malolactic fermentation. And without this fermentation, I think the wine for Chablis and for Chardonnay, for me, the wine is not complete. It's not doesn't get his right maturity. Right expression. Is my opinion.
Yeah, it's really lovely. I mean, you definitely get a different sense in this wine. You definitely get a different aromatic spectrum. It's a little bit more exotic, even in its aromas. But you know, it still has beautiful acidity and a beautiful persistence. So yeah, I think that it's a really beautiful wine.
And you get also some oak in this wine, but this is part. You have like in this 17 for sure you have like 20% of oak, and here you have a little part of new oak.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yes.
So is it new? Is it first use or first use new oak? Or 20%. And are you fermenting?
No, it's 20%. It's not 20% of new oak. It's 20% of oak, and you have 20 like 4% of new oak.
Okay.
Inside this 20%, you know.
Okay.
And the rest is you have 1 year old, 2 years, and 3 years old oak. It's a mix of age.
And again, you're fermenting in the oak.
It's in total it's 20. Yes, always we ferment. Yes, it's important to have the contact with the oak at the start of the fermentation.
Yeah.
To integrate the oak aromas, and to have the best contact between the wine and the.
Yeah, then it doesn't feel like an overlay. You have better integration between the two.
Yes, I want to precise. We don't do batonnage. We talk about oak. We don't do batonnage. We let the lees in the barrel, and we don't move the lees every week or every. I don't know.
So you're keeping the wine on the lees, but you're not doing the batonnage and stirring it. And the reason to keep it on the lees is what?
Alors, is to one side we is to stabilize, because it's a factor of stabilization to let the wine on the lees, and you have an exchange between wines and lees that is very important. And the lees, the dead yeast, they are dead yeast. They give a lot of elements, aromas, element of for the structure of the wine. And more you let the wine on the lees, more you get all these elements that stabilize and change the wine in the good way. And it's for me, it's a way the best way finally to express the character of the wine and the minerality character of the wine.
Yeah. Let's move on to our. We're going back across the river now, and we're leaving La Chablisienne, and we're going to taste some wines from a family winery called the Domaine Guy Robin. a fee. And now we're tasting two wines from the 2018. We said we're going to start with the Vaillon. So let's look at Vaillon. So we're back on the left bank, and this is the Vaillon, and it's a pretty important, one of the more important climat, would you say, on the left
Yes.
bank?
Yeah.
And it's quite spread out.
It's not as important as Fourchon, but it's quite important.
Yeah, it has a lot of also kind of the smaller climat around it. So in terms of, and I'm gonna do this because sometimes it's a little bit easier to see it on the flat map. So now we are here. So this is Vaillon. So what can you tell us about the Vaillon climat?
Like you said, Vaillon has numbers of climat. Maybe if you compare with Fourchon, maybe you find the most variety of climat. It's a good example of what is and the exception of the left bank rules when we explained before, because Vaillon is has this southeast exposure.
Yeah.
But if you see the soil, if you see the especially the soil that is like a shallow soil with a good proportion of clay, and that mix marl, clay, and limestone that warm up really fast.
Yeah.
So we talk about the left bank, that the style is more freshness, colder, and Vaillon is not like
not so
this.
Much.
I think it's not so much, and it can be dangerous. Vaillon can be dangerous because it can ripe really fast, really.
Yeah.
So we have to be really to see and to watch the maturity of the grapes, because you can be overripe really fast with Vaillon. So the wine we taste now is I read is a blend of Mélino and Beugnon.
Yeah.
That are two climats of Vaillon.
Yeah.
And they are at the bottom of the valley of Vaillon.
Yeah. So they're here. Yeah. So here's
I think
Vaillon, and then
like,
they're down here. Yeah.
And this part is especially ripe really fast, and it gives, and we'll test it, some this rounder and kind of it's not kind of Fourchon, but you are maybe more Fourchon ID than you can the vine you can find in the left bank. So it's a warmer, in general term, warmer left bank climat than the other flagship or climat that we find in this bank.
On the left, it definitely has more opulence, when
yes, exactly.
And then for example, Lely's, and of course, I mean, we're talking about, two different vintages as well, but you definitely get this warmer, and I was wondering, and I'm always, when I taste these wines, and I don't necessarily always know the specificities, but I was thinking it speaks to me of sort of more clay marl soils, whereas Lely's maybe is a little bit sort of shallower soil. So and you were saying that it's a little bit more on the clay. It's got this kind of a little bit more roundness, a little bit more, not the same tension, but really, I mean, delicious, but a very different expression.
It's very round, appealing.
Yeah.
But you have at the end this freshness and the minerality that it gives a touch of yes, it's a very seducing wine. And
it's very charming. It's very charming and very seductive.
Charming, exactly.
Yeah, charming and seductive, and it's also a wine that it sort of takes me, and it's probably true for all of them, but it takes me in the direction of food pretty quickly. I just think I taste that
Ah,
wine.
yes.
I want to have food now. But let's talk about food with this wine. What would you, what would you have at home if you were having your bottle of Vaillon? What would you make with this wine?
I don't. Ah, yes.
You don't cook.
Yeah, I like to see sometimes. Yes, I cook.
Okay.
No, but I don't know. Some fish, maybe fighter fish, some lobster.
Yeah, I was thinking, I would want like a lobster with some drawn butter, or something, or even
Yes,
scallops. I love
exactly.
scallops. Or I was having the other day like a scallop ceviche with a mango salsa, and I was thinking, I'm like, that would be really nice with that, because
Well,
there's a
yes,
certain
exactly.
generosity, but then the acidity sort of brings you back.
Mm.
So I think, that would be a really nice something with this, because again, there's a little bit of kind of an exoticness to this wine. And I really think with more like shellfish or more fatty fish, it would be really, really nice. Manual harvest, alcoholic and malolactic fermentation in oak barrels, 10% new. And then it stays on the lease 10 months. So that's pretty. Would it be fair to say, Vincent, that in terms of the winemaking in Chablis, there isn't a lot of variation? I mean, would it be dangerous to say that? Or, I mean, I find that most are doing malolactic, most are doing some, time on lees, but not lees stirring. Mostly it's used oak, if there's oak, or it's stainless steel for the more like petit Chablis, and then some used oak. But it's not an area where the winemaking is what's leading. It's really,
no.
Enfin,
it's leading. You find some some differences between estates, between producer in terms of we talk about the aging on lease, and this time you can find really between different producer different time to do this aging. Between 2 months, 3 months, and in La Chablisienne, for some Premier Cru, Grand Cru, it can be 15 months, and you have a big variability. I think, you have variability in terms of time of aging between the producer. You have producer that take only for Premier Cru or Grand Cru only 8-9 months to age, and other it's 15, 16, and also the part of oak can be very different. You have producer in Chablis that don't use any oak.
Right. Yeah.
Only the tank, stainless steel tank, no oak. Other on a lot of oak, and some producer like us, it's like between some oak, but not a balance. But the main difference, I think, is the time of aging. Takes the time of aging, and it can depend, of course, also with it can really be variable with the volume of a vintage. If you have a low volume with the vintage, for some producer, it can be a problem to age a long time on lease, because they need the wine
they need
before
to get it out
to commercial.
Makes sense. Okay, well, we need to move on to our last wine, which is the Moment. And again, we're with the same with the same vintage, 2018, same producer, Guy Robin. And this is now, we are still on the left bank. So Moment, we're back to our map. So now we are in Moment. Again, it's a pretty kind of a long valley. I say usually also the names of the climat, if it's with a Vaillon, like it's a valley, more Moment, it's more of a mound, like Mont du Milieu or Montée de Tonnerre. So it gives you a bit of an idea of the climat. But again, let's kind of put it on this flat map. So now we are We are down here.
Moment, ouais.
So what are some of the typicities of Moment? So it's a bit of a more hilly, climat, and we are once again on the left bank. And in terms of it's not that far from Vaillon. So if you were to compare it maybe to something to Vaillon, what would be some of the main differences that you would be looking for?
Alors, yes, Moment is quite different because it's more, the approach is more, say, gives more typicity and more connection with the idea of what is a left bank Premier Cru. Because in general, it can be considered like a colder Premier Cru. If you see the map, you can see the slope is you have a gentle slope. If you compare with Vaillon, you have a steeper slope, and a Moment, gentle slope, very open valley with this facing. Also, the exposure is like east, southeast. And so you can see.
It's northeast and southeast.
Yes, exactly.
It goes, both orientations. Yeah.
And because of the soil and like we said, the proportion of clay and the limestone, malt, especially if you are in at the bottom of the Premier Cru Moment that is named Buteau, you have a lot of different type of clay with a shallow soil, and it gives a different maturity. Yes, it's a Buteau. And I think with the wine we taste, the Moment we taste as a part of Buteau, it's a blend between Buteau and Moment. And the other climat is Forêt of Moment. So you have 3 climats. So not so much as Vaillon. You have less climat.
Here. So again, try to bring it. So
So you don't have the variety of climat that you have in Vaillon, but you have 3 different climats that get their own character. And I think in this one we get this Buteau touch that is really important, because I think in Moment is the colder part of Moment.
Yeah.
And it's in a vintage like 18. That is warm. We said warm vintage. It's interesting because it gives a lot of freshness at this wine. So I think it's very interesting to have this Buteau, and you can find a lot of producers. You can find some producers that isolate Buteau. Because like l'Élise for Vaillon, like other Premier Cru, or Vaulorant for Fauchaume, it's a really different style of wine inside the same Premier Cru. So really, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, again, it's always it's so interesting to how different these 2 wines are. And I think, to me, if I was in a blind tasting, I would have a harder time putting Vaillon on the left bank, but I would put this on the left bank more easily.
Yes, exactly.
It sort of puts me back in this tension that I expect in the left bank more. It's a little bit greener. The acidity is a little bit more present. And I find it fascinating because, we sort of always, I keep saying, we're still with the same grape. We're not that far. I mean, what is the distance from, if you're trying to get from Moment?
Very, very near. It's maybe 1 or 2. It's a valley, so it's it's nothing, nothing but a lot of difference.
I guess for me, a big difference between the Vaillon and the Moment is structural.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of the tension that I'm getting on this one that I didn't have. Sort of in Vaillon was more generous and open, but beautiful. Both of them really, really lovely wines.
Maybe with some classic oyster. Shellfish. Very nice.
Yeah, this one I'm sort of more in that, sort of like more like oyster, more briny, more maybe
Yes.
something with like lemon, and maybe something with a little bit of garlic. I'm just
Yes, yes,
really
yes,
starting to
perfect.
get hungry. But yeah, really, really very, very nice wines. Do you know the Domaine Guy Robin? Do you know the Domaine? Have you?
Yeah, a little bit, not so much, but yes, I tasted some of their wines, and it's a quite a nice estate in terms of quality of the wines, and they get a very good, nice variety of Premier Cru and Grand Cru. It's, I think, 20 hectares, so it's for Chablis, quite big
Quite impressive,
producer,
yeah.
and it's a historical one.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about them.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think now the children are more involved and taking over, and which is always lovely. I think it's gorgeous right now, but and if you were to project ageability on this wine, what would you say its window is? I mean, you said 5 to 10 years.
Yes, but for this one especially, I think you have a good structure, and the structure to age well, and yes, without problem, 4 or 5 years without problem, but I think more it can age.
Especially that Mona, I'm thinking it has some nice.
Really good potential. Maybe if you compare with Vaillon, maybe I think Moment get best potential than Vaillon.
With the Vaillon, yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Well, thank you so much for the time, Vincent. I really appreciate it. I know it's an incredibly busy time for you, and but this was hugely informative and educational. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Me too. It was a pleasure
so
for me.
Much.